Military and their families, thank you.
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos country. Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team. And now, we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Doctor, attorney, and now the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better.
Hey there, my friends. It is Tuesday morning. It is January 13th. Thanks for joining me here on Peaks2Plains Weather. I want to give you a little bit of background here on what's happening kind of behind the scenes before I jump into what's not some good news across the state. Last week, I had people reaching out about interested in partnering with Peaks2Plains Weather to grow their small business. And I was trying to focus on the storm, and so I kind of put that all off until yesterday. Had some incredible phone calls yesterday. Want to welcome Ameridry Restoration to Peaks2Plains Weather. They do water restoration, fire restoration, hoarder restoration, and trauma restoration. They've been in town for a long time. I had some great folks with some great conversations with some folks who might be coming on here over the next couple of days. Empire Roofing is joining us. Bird Dog Barbecue is joining us. So thanks to them. I have others as well, and I share those on social media, on the 24-hour channel. You'll see some of those partners, of course, Ramos Law, Rocky Mountain Roosters. Phil Longford, Motor City, has been with us since the beginning, and so thank you to them. Rundle Refrigeration is with us as well, and some some incredible businesses across the area, OxyFresh Carpet Cleaning and others. And, they're making Peaks to Plains possible. So I encourage you to support them when you have choices to make across the area. Okay, I am going to start off with what is not good news here this morning. And I'm going to begin in Breckenridge, here at the base of Peak 8. And you see Uller there is their statue, and if you haven't seen that, he's got an arrow, a bow, and there's a little snowflake on the end of it that's lit up in the middle. And, they have the Uller celebration in Breckenridge, which is the Norse god of snow, and they need some across the mountains of Colorado. You can see we've got some high clouds at Monarch this morning where the temperature's 22 and there's a little bit of a breeze. Here is what is not the good news that I was talking about. Snowpack across the state. As of this morning, this is snow water equivalent, because really we don't care how much this way there is. We care how much water is in the snow that's over the state. And you can see up across the northern parts in the Yampa in white, up around Meeker, up around Craig, Dinosaur National Monument, the North Platte Basin where Steamboat is. We're at about 75% of average. But then you get into the southern part of the state, the Arkansas Basin's at 50% of average, which is not good news. And I'm going to bring the statewide numbers in here. And when you look at it as a percent of average, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look that bad. But then when you look at the entire data set over time, that 62% of average is the 0 percentile in the data set, which means that there are no years on January 13th where the snowpack has been lower since we've been measuring it. And so that's not good news in any way. We need some snow. Unfortunately, I don't have any in the forecast. So to give you some perspective there, historically, the snowpack is not good. So we need some snow. I don't know how else to say it. Snowpack is important for a couple different reasons. Obviously, as the snow melt gets going, that gets into a lot of the reservoirs that are over the mountains that supply water along the Front Range to the major cities. And then it's also kind of a sign of how the fire season could be. If all of the trees across Colorado's high country are stressed from low snowpack heading into the warmer time of year, obviously that can cause some issues. So that is not good news. And I'm not overselling that, I don't think, in any way. All right, I'm going to go over to the wall here and I'm going to do the forecast for today. I'm going to start you off with where we were yesterday. Hit 53 in the Springs, 59 in Pueblo, and actually got to 64 in Canyon City. It was a little warmer yesterday than I thought it might be. That's kind of a hard thing to figure out when you have the snowpack on the ground and you're melting it. But in a lot of areas, we broke the inversion yesterday. Lamar, we only got to 45, kind of held it down. And we had 30s and 40s over a lot of the mountain areas as we continued to work on the snow. You can see here on the visible satellite through the day yesterday, the snowpack certainly doing some work on it. This loop is between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. And you can kind of see how the edges of it were deteriorating a little bit, showing us that, yeah, we were melting off and sublimating some of that snow yesterday. Sublimating, what is that? Well, that's when snow goes from ice right to the gas form and kind of skips over the liquid form. That can happen at the top of the snow layer. Outside this morning, as we get the day underway, cold spots are in the big mountain valleys, Gunny and Alamosa. We are in the single digits. On the higher end of things, Walsenburg and Canyon City, we've got some 40s already, and so is Denver. Then you get out across the plains, and we've got temps in the 20s and 30s this morning. So there's a lot of variability across southern Colorado. That's kind of a sign that we're going to have another warm day out there. We are a little bit warmer than yesterday morning, even in the areas where we are cold compared to 24 hours ago. That's because we still had the inversions in place. And here's the story today. I think we'll be a little bit breezier across the board than we were yesterday. Here's a look highlighting Penrose along Highway 50 between Canyon City and Pueblo. We'll have a couple high clouds. The breezes will help to keep us warm today. And the reason that we're breezy is we're going to be ahead of a cold front that comes in late. So now I'm going to take you to the Palmer Divide and highlight Elizabeth, and you can see into the early afternoon the wind is more out of the west, and then it kind of starts sort of tilting north. I think by the time we hit 4 or 5 o'clock, the cold front will be moving into that area. So not that it's going to be a windy day today, but I do think up against the hills and over them, up across parts of the plains from time to time, we will notice the breezes here sort of out of the northwest for the back part of the day. Of course, that's downslope. But then notice here, we start to get a north wind into the evening. That's the cold front that starts moving into the area, and that will change things up for Wednesday. So my forecast ahead of the cold front today, if you're melting snow, I think we'll be in the 50s. If you're in an area where you're kind of getting rid of it and starting to see some grassy patches, you're a little more likely maybe to catch some 50s, 30s and 40s over the mountains. We really don't change much from where we were yesterday. But then behind the cold front tomorrow, east of the mountains, we'll pull it back a step into the 40s and 50s a little bit. So it's about a 10 to 15 degree drop depending where you are. And I think you'll notice that. Mountain areas, we don't really get the impact of that front. In fact, in some cases, we might be a little bit warmer than what we'll have out there today. It looks like a dry front for the most part, maybe a couple flurries up over the mountain areas. I do think a little bit that we might have a couple of flurries. I'll come back to that here in a second behind the cold front. Man, we don't stay cooler for that long because I think by Thursday we're warming back up into the 50s and 60s. So we'll get some high clouds drifting in from the north again today. We've seen that for the last few days. Then behind the front tonight, we might pick up a couple flurries over some of the mountain areas, and early tomorrow morning, somebody could see a brief little snow shower, maybe a flurry over the Palmer Divide. I don't think that is going to be a big deal, but it's something that I want to make you aware of. So, just something there to, kind of cover the meteorological hiney, if you will, and, something I think I should let you know about here. So I hope you're having a good day, and I'm going to start off now with our extended forecast. Unless somebody wants to join me here, you can do so by going to vmix.at/1 small r, big J, big S, small L, and then the number 1. I put that in the comments here in the Facebook live stream early this morning. And so if you want to come on, you want to ask some questions about the snowpack, you want to talk about later on this week, you want to share some comments on Peaks2Plains Weather, I'd love to have you doing that. There's quite a few of you watching right now here on the Facebook stream. I've also got this stream up, taking over the 24-hour channel in the app, on the website. There's Peaks2Plains YouTube channel where there is a live stream running right now as well, and streaming on Instagram also. I need to work on figuring out TikTok. Since I'm older, obviously TikTok causes me to want to take it's a process. Okay, so let's talk long-term forecast here. So you see over the western U.S. that there's a big ridge of high pressure. That's kind of that sort of black circle that you see from San Francisco up toward the Portland area. And then there's a little bit of a dip in the jet stream. Across the northern plain is what's in, and there's a low pressure. This to be into from the north. The pattern changes a little bit here for the rest of the week in this way. Notice that we get a deeper trough to dig over the eastern U.S., and the ridge over the west coast kind of expands up to the north a little bit. That puts Colorado in some north flow here. That's what drives the front in as we move into the overnight and early on Wednesday morning. And Canetta is watching on Facebook. If you remember when I did the short-term forecast, I said I was covering the meteorological hiney with the chance of the snow showers over the Palmer Divide. She says, I'm here for this level of technicality and honesty. Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's why you guys, rely on me for that. So, Canetta, thank you. I appreciate that, having a little bit of fun here with me early this morning. We'll go back to the extended forecast, though. And as we move through the rest of the week, you see how we keep this deep trough over the eastern United States. Well, there's going to be multiple rounds of cold air. So on Thursday, the next one is approaching. I think we get our warm day then, and then we get that big deep trough over the eastern U.S. That second push is a little more significant than the first one. And so as I move you through the back part of the week, watch the pink here. See how the pink, which is sort of representing the coldest part of the air mass, it's kind of off to the east for the most part with the first shot. That's the one that moves in tonight. Well, the second one is different. That one comes in later on this week. The western edge of that is up against the Rocky Mountains. And as we move into the weekend, the models try to move it off to the east. Now, I'm looking large scale here. But history says, because of a small scale circulation that we get between the mountains and plains, that the western edge of that sometimes breaks off and stays over eastern Colorado for one extra day. And so while the computer model, you see my base map starting to show up there underneath Colorado Springs, it's trying to scoot it off to the east. I'm going to keep us chilly one more day for my forecast. I'll watch this here over the next couple of days, but that's what I'm going to do because history says that that is probably the smart way to do it here. So that's my forecast here for today. Deb and Jamie Hall say the same thing about the meteorological hiney. I mean, you know, that's what I'm here for. I mean, I would rather commit a sin of commission than omission. Mike Nelson used to tell me that, who was a longtime meteorologist up in the Denver area, and I interned for him way back in the day in the 90s. But I'd rather say something was a chance and it didn't happen versus not tell you about something and then it shows up on the doorstep and you're like, what is going on? What's happening? So anyways, if somebody wants to join me this morning, I'll stay on here for a little bit more. I like interacting with you and answering questions and that sort of thing. I'll do, for some of you that just joined, I'll come back here and do one little thing that I think sums up the next 36 hours or so pretty good. And I'll do it by showing you the forecast here for Falcon. And so this is a deep dive into the gridded data here for a bunch of different weather parameters. But you see through our Tuesday, we get into the 50s as we keep melting snow here. And then notice what happens between 3 and 6 o'clock. We start to see some gusts show up. That's the cold front coming in from the north, and you see the wind direction there at noon at 270 degrees. That's kind of out of the west, switching around to the north. Between 340 and about 360 there overnight. That's that north wind behind the cold front. And so notice that the cloud cover increases a little bit. And then tomorrow in the afternoon behind the front, we stay a little bit windy out of the north during the morning over the plains, but we don't get as warm, only into the 40s for Falcon. So that's that 10 to 15 degrees drop. Hey crew, check this out. This is my buddy Mike Witcher here. He is, you might remember that name, in the early 2000s. Witcher was a weekend meteorologist at KOAA, Channel 5 here in Colorado Springs. And then Mike went to Knoxville, Tennessee, came back to Colorado to work at Weather Nation, up headquartered in the Denver area, which does some national weather on some different platforms, and then went back to Knoxville and was there for a long time doing TV. Mike is doing something similar to Peaks2Plains Weather, but he's doing it for Eastern Tennessee. His company is called East Tennessee Weather. And Mike and I are in a co-op of longtime broadcast meteorologists who are sort of evolving with the times here and doing this digital weather focus for the communities that we serve. So Witcher's checking me out this morning. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you doing that. Laura asked a good question, and I'll have to look into this today, Laura, and I will do a post on this social media-wise. She says, how much snow do we need to get caught up? And again, it's not necessarily like if we went and stuck a ruler in it, Laura, how much we need. It's the amount of water in it. That's really the big story. And if you missed it earlier, what she's talking about here is the snowpack across the state of Colorado. I showed this, I kind of started off with this morning because it's not good news. Statewide, our percentile is in the low 60s, but, or statewide percent of average, I should say, is in the low 60s, but percentile 0, which means there's no day in the history of how long we've been measuring this, which, goes back several decades. It's not multiple hundreds of years or anything like that, but there's no January 13th in the data set where we've had less snow than now. I mean, it's feet for sure. We need feet of snow, but I'll try to look into that today. I'll maybe reach out to Russ Schumacher, who is a state climatologist up at CSU, and see if maybe he'd be willing to do an interview that I could share with you on social media and on Peaks2PlainsWeather.com. By the way, Peaks2PlainsWeather.com, I'll talk about that here really quick, because if you haven't been to the website, there's a couple cool things that you can do. Of course, my forecast is available on there. There's the live stream that we're doing right now. You can see that'll kind of take you to some of the other videos that, my daily forecast, deeper dive, all that stuff shows up there. Some current conditions also. Some of the weather blogs that I do. I've got some storm pictures from our latest storm on there. You can see that's kind of what our weather together is about. Shared some of those that all of you sent me, so that was kind of cool. I'll go back, and I do want to share this with you. If you're interested in supporting Peaks to Plains Weather, if you like the drop that we have, I love our logo. There is some merch you can buy that supports us. I don't make a ton of money off of that. I kind of think it's just fun to have the logo on some things. There's a long sleeve shirt that I think is really cool. I like that it has not just the drop on it, but the Peaks to Plains Weather down the side. I think that's pretty slick, and I like that a lot. So if you want to go to Peaks to Plains Weather, check that stuff out. I'm working on an umbrella. I think would be neat if every time it's raining around here, a bunch of Peaks to Plains Weather umbrellas went up. Couple things here. Melissa Scruggs says, love this. Well, thanks, Melissa. I love it too. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts this morning. If you wouldn't mind helping me out and telling people about Peaks to Plains Weather, we will... we'll grow that way organically. Okay, crew, this is going to be fun here. My buddy Mike Witcher is joining me here early this morning, and I'm going to change one thing on this. I'm going to change the call that he came in on here, and I am going to bring him into Peaks to Plains Weather, and I'm going to put my headphones on so that we can talk to him. And Mike, you heard me talking about you, my man. How are you this morning?
What's up, buddy? How are
Hey,
you? Can
dude.
you hear me? Because I've got my studio mic on.
No, I can. I can hear you really well.
Nice.
How are you?
What's up, crew? I'm doing great. How are you doing? How's the business going? You got a lot of people following you every day. This is awesome. I love watching it.
Yeah, it's growing. One of the things that I think is, you ran into this challenge. You're in your third year of doing this now. And when I'm explaining it to people who are interested in supporting Peaks to Plains Weather and growing their small business with it, and then when people are asking me out and about, like, what are you doing and whatnot, in the digital space, there are so many platforms, and how you have to provide information and what you look like on these different platforms is so different that it kind of gets complex to tell people, like, oh, hey, here's what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, you're in all these different places. Like, yeah, welcome to the digital world, right?
Yeah, no doubt about that. I will tell you that my dad, lives up in Florissant, Cripple Creek area, just on the other side of Pikes Peak, and he now has your app, and he is now passing along to everybody in the valley up there.
Way to
Tell
go,
them that
Witchers.
they need to follow Peaks to Plains and Matt Meister.
Did he tell you how much snow he got in the last storm?
Yeah, he got. Oh, I'm trying to think. The other day, I think he got 7-8 inches. I think.
Okay. So he was kind of on the lower end. Some people up there had a foot. Dude, how's the weather in Tennessee? I saw you over the last couple of days talking about a chance of snow, which I know in the valley there is kind of a big deal. I mean, you guys are tucked up against the Smokies in Knoxville, but did you get any, or are you going to get any?
Yeah, it's tomorrow night. Actually, it's going to come on in. It's funny. It's snowfall forecasting in the southeast is a little bit of a different ball game when I was forecasting snowfall in Colorado Springs, anyways. But yeah, it just diminishes the moisture source. I mean, trying to get snow in Knoxville is is like trying to chase cats around town, you know. So it looks like it's going to go good, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And so I think we're just going to get a few flurries, a little bit of light snow, not a big deal. People are pretty disappointed at this point of the game.
See,
well, most people anyway.
A little bit ago, I was talking about something that Mike Nelson told me back in the day, because we have a front coming in tonight, and I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody on the Palmer Divide caught a quick snow shower or a snow flurry. And Mike used to say, I would rather commit a sin of commission than omission, meaning like I'd rather tell you something could happen and it didn't versus not tell you about it, and then all of a sudden it's there and you're like, you don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, there's always the naysayers out there, right? That's just going to be the part of the ball game. But I would agree with you. I mean, I was probably one of the first ones in town talking about the potential for snow, and I was going to the TV stations and being like, why are they not even mentioning any of this? But then again, of course, that's why we are doing what we're doing,
Right.
because we can do whatever we want to do and talk about the storms at hand and give it the emphasis that sometimes it needs. Where you get it. I mean, back in the old TV days, we just couldn't. You didn't have the time to do that.
Right.
You know, minute and a half weathers, maybe 2 minutes max. But sometimes my forecasts are 3-4 minutes long because I really want people to understand the nuances that go into putting together a forecast, anyways.
Right. There's a lot that goes into it, and especially when you're in a place like you are, which is, sort of similar to here, where there's a bunch of terrain that is playing havoc with the forecast and that sort of thing. It causes some fun, as I like to say. So here you are in eastern Tennessee, off to the east of Nashville, and so the Smokies are off to the east of you, right? And you guys are kind of tucked up there in a little valley. What is the terrain feature like from Lansing up to Middlesboro there?
Yeah, so that's called the Cumberland Plateau. So that runs at about 1,100 to 1,400 feet above sea level.
Okay.
Of course, the Smokies run up to over 6,000 feet, and then the valley is about 850 feet. And so those all play a huge role in terrain-driven, or rain-driven snowfall forecasts. It also plays a huge role. Like I was talking this morning about the horseshoe effect. So if you go up towards Chattanooga, just to the west of Chattanooga, up towards Kentucky on the Cumberland Plateau, and then swing around up into southeastern Kentucky, as probably cold as you, right? I don't think.
I've got us in the 30s right now for Friday and Saturday up against the hills here, because we're kind of on the western edge of the air mass, like squeezing the western edge of it up against the Rockies here. So I haven't gotten too cold as of yet, but one of the things I keep talking about is, if you look at the models, after it brings that deeper push in Friday, it tries to get it out of here on Saturday. But a lot of times what happens is because of the mountain plain circulation, the diurnal wind shifts that we get, we'll break off a piece of a big air mass like that, and it'll stay for an extra day compared to what especially a hemispheric or global model is showing. And so, I'm going to keep that just sort of pattern recognition in my forecast until it gets closer and you start getting higher resolution models, and I can tell a little bit of a difference on that. So again, might not have time to talk about that on TV, but here on Peaks2Plains Weather, I certainly do. So.
And I think people really enjoy it. I don't know what your viewers are thinking so far, but my viewers love the fact that we can really explain the weather of what we're thinking, why we're thinking. Of course, it's weather, right? It's the future. We're trying to predict something that hasn't happened yet, and sometimes I think people forget that because we have such access to weather information like on our cell phones and stuff like that. But it really takes somebody like you who's been in the market for 30 years to really understand the nuances of that. And I love it. I love that you're being able to explain that kind of stuff. And I love that you've got a great crew that's joining you every day.
Yeah, well, here's Crystal. She says, love that you're adding more small towns on the map because the weather's always different, by just several miles here. And so that's one of the things that, again, being in a terrain area like you are, that I get to talk about. So, Witcher, thanks for joining me today. That was a fun surprise, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, you have a great day. Crew, as you always say, you guys enjoy your day. I'll see you back here soon.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for doing that. That was
Yeah,
fun,
man.
Mike. Mike is, again, East Tennessee Weather. You want to check him out. If you're ever into that area, you go visit the Smoky Mountains. He's got an app as well. He'll take care of you in that area. Good dude. He has been a huge help to me getting this thing off the ground because he's, like I said, he's in year 3 of doing this since he left TV in the Knoxville area. And so he's, on a couple days where I sort of felt like crying a little bit because things were breaking and it was hard to fix them. Mike's been some encouragement to me, and I really appreciate him greatly. So for those of you that are just joining here before we get back, you can see we've got high clouds coming in from the north today. Some of those I think are going to be thick here, looking at what the satellite looks like this morning. We'll check a couple cameras here and see if we can maybe catch what the sunrise looks like before we get out of here. Early this morning, out the door. Well, man, look at that. See, the sun's not really coming up all that much yet. They were catching a little bit of some light in Canyon City, the Air Force Academy. Everybody's still got their lights on, so I can't really tell. But that's it for weather here early this morning. Again, my headlines as we head out the door was the snowpack across Colorado. I'll go back to that one more time for those of you that are new, and I'm going to do a post here in a little while about this, because while statewide snowpack is snow water equivalent is running in the low 60% of average, the percentile, which means where is the rank in the data set, is 0. On January 13th, we've got no years where the snowpack is less than it has been, as it has been in 2026, and that's not good news. So thanks for joining me this morning. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. We'll see you next time on Peaks2Plains Weather Live, Monday through Friday mornings at 6:30. On YouTube, on the app, on the website, on social media as well. And before you head out today, maybe you want to grab a screen capture here of my QR code. Have some friends download the Peaks2Plains Weather app. Bye.